This is Aulbrie Sass for Pambazuka News. Today I'm at the African Union headquarters here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I had the pleasure of speaking with Mrs. Musabayana, the deputy head of the Communication and Information Department here. We spoke about social media and how she plans to use it, along with her department, to impact the everyday African in the context of the African Union's vision. In your opinion, what are the key achievements of the Communications Department as it relates to the vision of the African Union as a whole?
I'm really happy to say that the Directorate of Information and Communication has really come a long way in the last 6 or 7 years. For a start, one of the major achievements was that the Commission found it necessary to upgrade the Directorate. Before this, it was a division, and now we have a director who is in charge of information and communication. So that was a recognition of the importance of communication to the Commission. I'm also happy to say that things have gone further than that, because now communication has been accepted in the upcoming strategic plan to be a strategic priority of the Commission. The Commission has 5 pillars. And communication is now forming one of those pillars. And then it has 8 priority areas, and communication and branding is one of those 8 priority areas. So we really think that this is a big achievement, and it shows that not only has the level of communication improved, but that it is visible, and that people are now starting to accept that communication is actually a very strategic point opportunity, rather than just being an add-on. You know, before people used to call communication officers at the end of the planning process, and then they would come in and say, where is the photographer? We need somebody to write a press release. But it's no longer like that. It's much more strategic because it actually adds value to the bottom line of the organization. So these are 2 of the most important achievements that I would say. But I would also point to the fact that the number and scope of communication tools that we're now using has increased dramatically. Whereas before we used to do press releases and perhaps the media advisories, now we are very big on the use of the website, because as you know, the website is the first point of contact between the outside world and the organization. But we have also adopted social media and are using it quite aggressively. So far, the Commission is now using YouTube, we're using Facebook, we're using Flickr, and this is really helping us to reach out to our traditional audiences, but also to the new audience, I would say, the younger people who now, use social media more often. So these are just some of the few achievements that I would really want to point out, which distinguish communication as it was before and what it is now within the Commission.
I see that you've recently implemented a new social media strategy. How have you used that strategy to reach the everyday African?
Not only are we using social media and so on, but we are more aggressively getting in touch with media, identifying which media are critical in Africa, but also we are developing media. So we would like the African media to come to a level where development issues are discussed at par with issues of peace and security, for example. So we have many development programs aimed at improving the African audiences. We are also reaching out to the ordinary people by inviting them to come to the Commission. We have a very good public relations strategy where people come into the Commission and they're able to see this. We have a service where we facilitate interviews for journalists with our leadership here at the Commission. And in this way, we believe that the more access that media have to information coming out of the African Union, the more it will go out to the ordinary people. I want also to add that on our website, we are now trying to make it more interactive so that we're not just talking to the people, but they also have the opportunity to talk to us. One final thing that I would like to add is that during the summits, which I think is one of the biggest events on the continent in any given year, and we have 2 of them in 1 year. During the summits, we invite journalists, and we receive anywhere between 400 and 600 journalists coming to cover the summit. And each one of those has access directly from the horse's mouth, from the African Union, which they are free to report. And we also offer them press conferences on a daily basis with the leadership. Not just the African Union leadership, but also the leaders of our partners in development. They get the chance to talk to journalists, to expound on their views, to explain what is being done at a continental level, at a regional level, and at an international level, to try and make sure that the African Union achieves its goals of development, of peace, and of integration in the next 50 years.
Okay. Thank you very much. So my next question is about what you would have wished to achieve as a department, and you were not able to do that due to various reasons.
It's an interesting question, because I think no one can ever say I've done everything and I've done everything correctly. You always find that no matter how hard you achieve, you strive to achieve something, when you get there, you find there is still another long road ahead in front of you. So there are a number of issues that we are busy trying to put in place. We are working on a very comprehensive communication strategy, which will assist the Commission and the AU as a whole to communicate more effectively. So there are a number of processes that are going on to make sure that the necessary capacity and the necessary resources are available to facilitate communication. We wish, yes, that we could, make more use of our social media sites. We are registering a lot of hits on them, but we keep striving to make sure that we get many more and that we are truly covering the African population. Another thing that we're really passionate about is making sure that we make use even of the traditional media, for example, radio. If we could have our own transmission channel, which is African, that we are sure will deliver the message as it comes from the African Union, that would be really fantastic. You are aware that radio is the most ubiquitous and most popular means of communication in Africa. So if we can get some means of talking to the African people directly, that would be great. A radio and television station are one of the things that we're really trying to go for. If we find the necessary funding, then it should be possible for African people, wherever they are, to listen in to information coming directly from the African Union and hear for themselves what their leadership is doing on their behalf.
Are there plans to achieve that?
There are plans, and there's a lot of work that has gone into it, and we are very thankful that we have a leadership that is very supportive of communication efforts. So we are very hopeful and confident that we will be able to get the resources that are necessary to establish some kind of communication network that allows us to talk directly to the African people. I will explain to you why, because sometimes you find that messages that are coming out of the African Union, because they go through other stations, by the time they come out on the news, there is another angle that has been added to it. So I think that people should be able to hear for themselves exactly what has been decided and exactly what is being done, perhaps without too much of the analysis and the angles that sometimes the media add, as well as their own editorial policies. This is not to say that what the media is doing is wrong. They're doing their job, but we also feel that there is need for a network that allows people to hear for themselves things as they are on the ground.
Can you tell me more about the I Am African, I Am the African Union slogan that you've recently started using and implementing within the African Union?
Okay, this is a very exciting campaign, and we're all very excited by it. It came about because of decisions made by our heads of states and governments, and it started with the launch of the new flag of the African Union. So it was felt that there was a need to popularize this flag. And then other, evidence was coming in that perhaps we need to popularize the African Union to make sure that all African people know that this organization is for them, it is working for their development, it is working for integration, and it is working for peace. So we went through an elaborate process of trying to ascertain what we need to say to the African people in terms of branding. And so we went through the normal process within our commission of hiring a professional agency to do that. And what they came up with was that we need to brand the African Union as an organization. So, but to do that, we need a very catchy phrase that will resonate with Africans. And they selected this slogan, I am African, I am the African Union. And I can assure you, this slogan has been a hit. When you look at the feedback that we received when we launched it in May 2012, it was really fantastic. Because Africans from all over the place, not just in Africa, but Africans from the diaspora as well, were writing in to say, yes, I am African. And I want to see my continent develop. I want to see my continent at peace, and I want to see my continent integrated. So we are very happy that the slogan that we have chosen has resonated, because that allows us then to promote not just the flag, but the colors of the African Union. It also allows us to brand our website. It allows us to portray an Africa in which Africans are proud to be part and in which they are committed, and also to promote that sense that we own this organization is our own. I am African. I own the organization because I am an African. I think that with the efforts that are being undertaken at continental level, and with the kind of commitment that we are seeing from the leadership, both of the Commission and of the Union, we are moving in the right direction. It has taken 50 years since the formation of the African Union, but the feeling now is that it doesn't have to take us another 50 years to achieve our goals. So if we are united and we have this feeling that this Africa is ours and no one is going to develop it for us, it is up to us to develop it. This is the feeling that we are trying to inculcate. If we all go together in that same direction, I have no doubt that by 2063, most, if not all of Africa will be at a much different stage, and they will have achieved levels of development that are really unprecedented. You are aware that Africa is growing very fast economically. 6 of the world's fastest developing economies are in Africa. And this is a good trend. And Africa is now being known as the next growth pole in the world. And with these kinds of statistics, we are sure to achieve what we want within the next 50 years, if not less.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask you if you have any message that you would like fellow Africans to get as we celebrate this anniversary.
Yes. I would like just to say that we are African. We are the African Union. Our destiny is in our hands. We have to work for this continent. We have to leave a legacy for our children and for our grandchildren. But no one is going to do it for us. It is up to us to do it. The African Union is pushing very hard for that development. And in that process, it is joined by other organizations in the development process. And we have to fight the stigmas, we have to fight the stereotypes, but we can only fight based on what we do and the results that we produce as Africans. So I would say let's go for it. Let's celebrate as much as we can during the 50th, but also let's look to the future and say we have come 50 years so far. The next 50 years must be completely different.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me and talk about the communications department here at the African Union today.